Welcome to the Cinema Gold Podcast. I'm your host, Larry Leese. Today we're diving into the latest movie news. But first, we'd like to thank our sponsor, Audible. Visit audibletrial.com/cinemagold for a free 30-day trial and one free audiobook of your choice. And now to our first story. Venom 2 has once again been delayed by 1 week. Venom, Let There Be Carnage has had its release date delayed once more, yet fans won't have to wait long to see the symbiote anti-hero in theaters. Originally set for release in 2020, the pandemic caused Sony to delay the release of the sequel to 2021, and just recently moved it back to September 14th, 2021. Venom, Let There Be Carnage will see Eddie Brock going face-to-face with his most iconic villain, Carnage. Carnage will be joined alongside the villain Shriek, but other than that, little else is known about the plot. Motion capture performer Andy Serkis is helming the project, taking over for original film director Ruben Fleischer. Variety first revealed that Sony had decided to delay Venom to September 24, 2021. The film now arrives 3 weeks after the release of Marvel Studios' Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Venom, Let There Be Carnage will now open alongside the Sopranos prequel film, The Many Saints of Newark, and the adaptation of the hit musical Dear Evan Hansen. This is one of many COVID-19 release date changes to delay a movie by just 1 week. Godzilla vs. Kong was set to premiere on March 26th, but was delayed 5 days to March 31st. Just recently, Warner Brothers delayed the release of Mortal Kombat back 1 week to April 23rd. These recent delays come as more theaters begin opening across the country due to the rollout of vaccines, a decrease in COVID-19 cases, and cities lifting restrictions. Godzilla vs. Kong international box office showed there was a strong demand for filmgoers to go out to the movies, and the first Venom grossed $269 million in China alone, to bring its worldwide total to $856 million. Sony has been keen to keep their films as theatrical exclusives. Sony delayed their entire 2020 slate into 2021, and since the beginning of the year, has been adjusting their schedule. Unlike Disney, Warner Brothers, or Paramount, who have streaming services to release their popular films onto, Sony does not have a streaming outlet. Sony has shuffled the release date of a number of their films, including Morbius. The other film spinning off of a classic Spider-Man villain was moved from March 2021 to October 21, and then just one day later was delayed to January 2022. Sony still has Spider-Man No Way Home slated for December 17th, 2021, and keeping Venom Let There Be Carnage firmly before that release could be an indicator that there could be a connection between the two films. And now let's move on to one of the controversial topics. Boycotting Warner Brothers will not restore the Snyderverse. We're at a weird point in our universe. A film called Zack Snyder's Justice League just got released on HBO Max due to overwhelming fan support, something that has never been done in the history of the world. It may never happen again. Kind of like Cleveland Brown's Super Bowl. There are any number of terrible, rotten, downright horrible films released each year, many of which likely endure the same type of tumultuous behind-the-scenes tampering as 2017's Justice League, and yet only a handful of people ever cry out to see a director's true vision restored, while the rest of us roll our eyes at the blatant naive. Except, as Zack Snyder's Justice League proved, that's not entirely the case anymore. In fact, after witnessing the film's greatness, I'm genuinely starting to believe an amazing version of Spider-Man 3 exists on Sam Raimi's laptop just waiting for rediscovery. But here's the thing, even if that movie does exist, there's a right way and a wrong way to beg for its release. As it turns out, dressing in spandex and kidnapping Raimi's dog is not listed among the right ways. Who knew? Which brings us to the point of this discussion. Boycotting Warner Brother films will not restore the Snyderverse. In fact, you can probably hang the action alongside 48-hour fasting, refusing to cut your hair, or withholding sex from a spouse as a tactic that will not under any circumstance help you achieve any goal in life. Unless your goal is to be a really skinny, long-haired fellow. Anyways, if you need some context, a handful of angry Snyder fans have taken to review bombing Godzilla vs. Kong and gone so far as to boycott the big-budget Titans mashup in retaliation for what they perceive as mistreatment of Zack Snyder in his superhero universe. A wave of one-star reviews flooded Godzilla vs. Kong on IMDb, dragging the film's score down to a 7.5 out of 10. Naturally, Godzilla followers have retaliated by striking back with their own 10 out of 10 reviews. So that'll show them. The bombing runs got so crazy, IMDb decided to remove the negative reviews in order to restore balance to the galaxy. Hey, I'm a Zack Snyder fan. My hands were shaking when I received my link for the Justice League. I watched the film on repeat over the course of 72 hours. The point is, I want more of Zack Snyder's universe. I want more Batfleck, more cuckoo nightmare scenes, more black-suited Superman, more head-chopping Wonder Woman. I want it all, but at this juncture, all we as fans can do is tweet the hell out of Restore the Snyderverse, rewatch the film over and over again, and patiently wait for those powers that be to comply. Remember, these are ginormous films that require millions of dollars to fund, which is why my GoFundMe plan didn't work out. Sure, there's a huge fan base salivating over the prospect of more Snyder stuff, but it's still a pretty big risk for any studio to take on, considering the lukewarm response Man of Steel and Dawn of Justice received a mere half-decade earlier. Now while you wait, and at the risk of sounding like a corny ad, go check out Godzilla vs. Kong. It's pretty awesome. No, not Zack Snyder Justice League awesome, but still pretty awesome. Refusing to watch that flick only robs you and your loved ones of perfectly great popcorn and cheesy entertainment. Imagine letting your child, friend, or ex-wife go through life having not seen two of cinema's biggest titans go toe-to-toe on the largest screen possible. Of course, if you think the movie looks like garbage, that's a different deal. But don't miss out on something that could potentially turn out to be a life-affirming event simply because you're trying to make a point that will likely fail to stick anyway. Besides best case scenario, and I'm talking best case scenario here as in the world entire snubs the movie as though it were Dr. Dolittle, boycotting Godzilla vs. Kong would only convince the studio that they should make more Godzilla vs. Kong. Similarly, boycotting Mortal Kombat would mean no sequels. Leaving us with the same putrid feeling we all had in 1995 when New Line Cinema failed to deliver a proper sequel to Paul Anderson's mostly shitty take on the popular video. Similarly, even if you think James Gunn's The Suicide Squad looks like a bad Guardians of the Galaxy knockoff, avoiding it won't convince WB to continue the Snyderverse. In fact, should its upcoming superhero slate fail, it's likely WB would take a break from producing more DC content before eventually rebooting the property 5 or 6 years down the road. Case in point, Batman. In 1989, Tim Burton delivered a classic take on the Caped Crusader that is still regarded as one of the better comic book films ever made. His follow-up, Batman Returns, perhaps the strangest blockbuster to ever feature a horny mutant penguin, didn't sell enough Happy Meals, leading WB to flip a donut in the middle of oncoming traffic and quasi-reboot the series with a much lighter Batman Forever. That terrible movie somehow made a lot of money due to Jim Carrey's star power, which led WB to double down on the camp with Batman and Robin, a film in which the Dark Knight tries to woo Poison Ivy with a bat credit card. Naturally, the film tanked, and audiences weren't quite ready for so many nipples. Warner Brothers brought back Tim Burton to save the day, Oh wait. No, the studio put Batman in the vault for nearly a decade before giving the reins to Christopher Nolan. Anyways, that's likely what will happen should WB's upcoming batch of superhero flicks fail. And while I just made the case that boycotting could potentially lead to another Dark Knight trilogy in 10 years, keep in mind that would also mean the absolute death of the Snyderverse. Again, the best way to ensure more Snyder films is to watch the hell into the Zack Snyder Justice League and push those Twitter hashtags for record engagements. That's the only path to success. All other paths lead to less happiness, not more. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Cinema Gold Podcast. Let us know your thoughts on Twitter at CinemaGold2, and you can follow us on Instagram at the Cinema Gold Podcast. Thank you, and we'll see you tomorrow.